What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror, and today we are looking at the Final Destination franchise. I'm going to be going through and ranking all 6 movies, including Bloodlines, which I just watched today, and ranking all of them. I have ranked the Final Destination franchise on my channel before, but that was before Bloodlines and before I knew what movies were. Not literally, but like before I knew what good movies were. So we're going to go through and re-rank the 5 that I've already talked about and talk about the new ones. So let's get right into it. Without a fraction of doubt, there's not a single ounce of anything in my brain that was telling me that it was anything besides the Final Destination or Final Destination 3D. Final Destination 4, it goes by a few different names, but it just doesn't matter what name you give it. It's by far the worst. It's the only one that isn't even enjoyable. And that's not, I guess that's not fair, because it is enjoyable to some degree, and by to some degree I mean there's like 3 good scenes. Otherwise, it's just awful. I mean, you start off with just by far, like by a landslide, the worst disaster of all time. Because you know what's so great about the Final Destination franchise? That every premonition and disaster is like a realistic fear that someone could have, like a plane crashing, a car pileup, a roller coaster going off the rails, a bridge collapsing, like a glass floor breaking. But do you know what? It's never crossed my mind one time in my life. What if I'm at a NASCAR game and the cars fly 400 feet up into the air and hit me while I'm in the stands? Just hasn't crossed my mind. Like, it's so stupid. It's the stupidest disaster ever. Like, sure, cars crash. NASCAR, race cars crash. That happens. And sometimes, if you're sitting in the front row and there's a fence there and it goes through the fence, yeah, that would suck. But do you know what doesn't happen? A car or car parts getting launched up into the top freaking rows. Because that happens multiple times. An engine is launched from the track all the way up to the top row of the stands and hits a woman. That's not even to mention the tire that happens later. So all of the characters, it happens, the normal Final Destination stuff. The characters leave the building. They're all think they're safe, and they're like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And then, like, how were you able to predict that? And then a tire leaves the stadium. It goes so high, so unbelievably high, gets shot in the air, flies out over the top of the stadium, out the roof, and is able to hit a woman. I know that it's Final Destination, and I'm not complaining that it hit her, because sure, it's Final Destination, coincidences, it's kind of their whole thing. But that's just straight up impossible. Coming in at number 5, from now on, these are all enjoyable movies. Movies that I would rewatch. Movies that I have rewatched, except for the new one, because I don't want to go back to theaters. Number 5 is going to be the original Final Destination. And I know this is probably controversial. I don't really know how many people feel about the Final Destination series, because I don't see it like a heavily talked about series online, because, well, every movie's the freaking same. But the first one for me is the least enjoyable, just because it has the least amount of what I go to a Final Destination movie for. I go to a Final Destination movie to see creative kills, have a fun time, not really care about the characters. This time, I guess you do kind of care about the main characters, but not really. And there's only like 5 people that survive the accident, so you only get like 4 kills. And most of them aren't very good. You get, like, the bus kill, which is pretty decent. Then the guy that gets killed in the bathroom and the teacher. And that's pretty much it for, like, Rube Goldberg stuff. Otherwise, yeah, it felt the least fun of the Final Destination movies that come after. Yeah, it felt very, they're playing it safe. It does have maybe the best disaster in the series, possibly up there with part two, I think, for the best disaster. I do think it is a very like scary shot when they're standing in the airport and the plane explodes in the background. That is, I don't know why, but that scene is always that shot has always got me. Otherwise, I think the scene where Devon Sawa, I forgot his character's name, is locked up in the cabin. I think that's completely stupid because it just like the second somebody comes, he's like, all right, I'll leave. Cool. And it's so stupid. Like, why is he eating dog food? Beats me. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird. That whole part was weird. Um, yeah, I mean, it's watchable. It's fun, but it's just the least enjoyable of the first four. No, the first three. I was gonna say four, but no, four is definitely less enjoyable than this one. Coming in at number four, this was actually where it started to get tough. I didn't know what to put here, but I'm going with Final Destination 3, which was my number one when I ranked it last time. And you know why it was my number one? Because it has a crap ton of kills and a lot of good ones. Just don't look at the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie doesn't exist. There is literally no other movie. This is the movie that they were like, yeah, we were like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool to kill someone in like an auto repair shop and someone gets like nails through the back of their head? And so they were just like, well, how can we get our characters there? So they literally thought of a bunch of creative kills and then made a movie around the kills. So it's fun. It's the most fun by far. It has some of the best kills. The nail gun kill, as I already referenced, is one of my favorite kills of the series. There, as far as characters, they don't exist. They do, but you get what I mean. They don't have any personality or anything really. The disaster out of like the good ones besides four is what I'm saying. Probably my least favorite. Just because it doesn't feel that major. I mean, I know like 16 people died or whatever, but still, it just didn't feel like big enough for Final Destination. It just kind of felt like, yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I didn't really care about that. I've never been super high on the roller coaster disaster, but I really like the look of the theme park. If that's worth anything, I think they actually did a very good job at if I know some of it they built, like some of the statues and stuff, but I really like how the theme park looks. I don't know. But otherwise, this movie is it's fun. It's got a bunch of good kills. You get Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who actually surprisingly puts in a decent performance here. Just because it's Final Destination and the acting isn't usually the best, but she actually does a pretty good job here. I'm not a huge fan of the ending, but like I said, it's the most fun. It has some of the best kills, so it's one of the most enjoyable. Coming in at number three, this was actually tough. I like, not because I love any of them, but just because they're all basically the same. Number three, however, is going to be Final Destination 5. Now, I have talked about this movie surprisingly a lot on this channel, but that's just because of the one scene, the one kill. And you know what kill I'm talking about, because it was my favorite horror movie kill when I did my top 10 kills list, and it even got in my top 15 horror movie moments of all time. The Candace kill, where she spins on the balance beam and lands on her chest and snaps her back. Always stuck out to me as my favorite kill in horror history. I have yet to see one that I like better than that one, just because it's just kind of like, there's good kills where you're like, oh, that's cool, and there's good kills where you're like, oh, ooh, that, damn. And that was one of those ones for me, so I really like that kill. But otherwise, you get the Final Destination stuff. That's what most of these movies are. It's just Rube Goldberg, people dying in creative, gory ways, characters you don't really care about, some characters that you want to see die, and just, it's that. And this was actually the first Final Destination movie I watched, because it doesn't matter order. But it was fine for the rest of the movie. I think the time spent in between kills, it kind of sucks. Kind of like in part 3, where I said they kind of just thought of kills and then wrote story in between. It kind of feels like they did it with this one. I can't confirm or deny that, but it kind of seems like, oh, this would be a cool idea for a kill. That's right, we have to write story in between. So they add in some new rules here that weren't a part of the previous movies, like if you kill someone, you take their life or whatever, like what life they had left, which is, I do think a good rule. I do like the implementation of that. I don't know if it makes much sense, but this whole franchise doesn't make any sense. Um, I think it might be the most gory. Like it's got a lot of gore. But it just, I mean, with all Final Destination movies, the time spent in between the kills is never good, and the characters are never really good. But it just, for this one, it just felt kind of boring in between kills, and the characters are, it's a lot of the time just characters talking, and it felt really boring. Um, but it has the best kill of the series, so gives give you props for that. Coming in at number two, I went back and forth on which one was going to be my number two. I knew what my number one was, funny enough, but number two is going to be Final Destination 2. And this actually used to be my number three. I think I flip-flopped 3 and 2. That's because 2 actually has stuff in between the kills. Not great stuff. It's just kind of like basic Final Destination script. But it's at least not boring and just the same thing. Because in 3, you're tired of the same thing. They go through, they figure out all the same stuff that they always figure out. The death has an order, and the death list and stuff, and all that. Yeah. But I like this one because this is when they really lean into the creative kills. They're very good in this one. I think they managed to one-up the original in that regard. I love some of the kills in this one a lot more. As I said, the disaster at the beginning rivals the original for the best disaster. I think it's a more realistic fear than, I mean, people go on planes a lot, but you're on the road like every day pretty much. So it's a much more realistic thing that could happen. I mean, the log truck scene, everybody knows the log truck scene, and it like has made people terrified of log trucks. Personally, yeah, that's terrifying, that and semi-trucks, but yeah, the disaster in the opening is probably my favorite part of the movie, besides some of the kills in the middle here. I do like that this is the only one where characters survive in the end. I guess they kind of earn it. They kind of earn it. I mean, they introduce a new rule where if you die, then it will just throw off death's order if you die out of turn, or if you die, they're not out of turn, Jesus. If you die and then come back, it will throw off death's order, and it'll just skip everybody. So I like that rule. Again, don't think it makes much sense, but none of these movies do. I just like that, some characters manage to survive a Final Destination movie. None of the other characters in any of the other movies managed to survive, but we got 2 from this one, so. And number 1, this blew my mind. Number 1 is Final Destination Bloodlines. Wow. Bravo. I didn't think you'd be able to do this good. I mean, good. The best Final Destination movie for me, but still not like, I might give it 4 stars. Definitely wouldn't go higher than that. And this is because this movie does something that I didn't think Final Destination was capable of doing. Making you care about the characters. Good job. I cared about the characters. I cared about the mom and it's not a good sign that I don't know their names. the main girl and her brother and her mom. I love their relationship, and I genuinely wanted to see them live. And I was like, you know what? This would actually be a good movie for them to live. It would go out on a happy ending. They don't end up doing that, and the ending kind of... That's one of my big complaints about the movie, is the ending. It just kind of feels like the same thing that happens in all of these, where they make like a last-second realization, or someone says something like, what? And then they just get killed. Like they do it in 4, they do it in... Well, they kind of do it in part 2. It just kind of feels like it just kind of feels cheap. I don't know. I didn't love the ending there. It's gory. Some of the effects I don't know if it was just me or how my eyes, I don't know, but some of the effects looked a little bit buggy. I don't know if any other people agree, but they kind of looked CGI in some of them. But I mean, obviously, some of them have CGI implements, or yeah, but they still looked good. They still looked pretty good. It was just sometimes I'm like, that kind of looked weird, but overall they were pretty good. I like that they don't just do the exact same thing like they did with the other 5 movies. They actually try some new things, and the opening with the premonition being somebody else's premonition, I thought that was pretty good. And I thought all of the bloodline stuff was pretty good because we've learned in previous installments in the series that if someone else is born that wasn't supposed to be alive, it will continue down the bloodline. So I like that. I like that the title is Bloodline, so it's kind of, leading into the theme. Um and I genuinely think they make you care for these characters because I like all 3 of them. Maybe it's just me, but I liked them. I liked them and I wanted to see them succeed. And they did, but then they didn't. I don't hate the ending. But otherwise, it's fun. It's funny. I laughed multiple times during this movie, which I haven't laughed in any of the other ones, so bravo. Yeah, very good Final Destination movie. It was super fun. It was super funny. It was super gory. I mean, they were a bit light on the kills. I will say that they felt a bit like they could have gone bigger. But I mean, then again, you look at the original. The original was pretty light on kills. If you don't count the like 300 people that blew up in the plane, there's only like 4 people that die. So I mean, they were light on the kills, but it's not a huge knock for me. I like that they're kind of diving into more lore and diving into who Tony Todd's character was. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Thought it was good. It's a good Final Destination movie. I don't know what to say. And that's going to be it for today's video. Remember, if you did enjoy, make sure to hit like and subscribe so on you want to see more videos like it in the future. Otherwise, you can comment down below some more video ideas for me or your own ranking of these 6 Final Destination movies. And maybe just your thoughts on Bloodlines if you don't want to do your whole ranking. All right, but yeah, we're done. Bye.